Do you love going to Broadway shows, but can't go now because Broadway's closed? Join tour guide Tim and Belasco too as they bring Broadway history to you. Grab your Broadway passport for what's in store on your virtual Broadway tour.
The Times Square Theater District hadn't seen a new theater in decades, so the 1972 opening of this week's theater, the Circle in the Square, was a welcome sight for theater lovers. Built at the same time as its neighbor, the Gershwin, the pair of theaters would herald in a modern theater design. But many who visit either of the theaters nowadays are unaware of a much larger theater that took up the entire block on the exact same footprint. The Capitol Theater opened in 1919 and was one of the largest in the city at 5,230 seats. It was a premier movie palace, grand and ornate. It was said that if you sat in the last row, you were a full block from the stage and could barely hear anything. The theater was built during World War I, so steel that was needed for the massive building was in short supply. Luckily, the subway was expanding northward, and the trusses used in the tunnels were sold for use in the building of the theater. Unfortunately for the original owners, the theater was beset by problems almost immediately. 4 days after opening, Prohibition went into effect, and the next week saw an usher strike. While it eventually was a successful showplace for many movies and the stars throughout the years, in the mid-1960s, the entire theater was bulldozed to make way for the Paramount Office Tower. That would include 2 theaters in its design. When the Circle in the Square Theater opened in 1972, it heralded to Broadway a small off-Broadway theater company with a big mission: to present important plays in short runs to a subscription-based audience. The theater company was started in 1951 in Greenwich Village with Theodore Mann and Jose Quintero at the helm, and is widely believed to be one of the founding institutions that created the off-Broadway movement in New York City. The design of their Broadway home would echo earlier incarnations of their downtown playing space, a thrust stage with audience on 3 sides close to the action on stage. And with the Uris Theater above, now the Gershwin, the Circle in the Square was the first Broadway theater built below ground, the only other being the Stephen Sondheim Theater on 43rd Street. The Circle in the Square created ambitious seasons for their uptown subscription audience, chock full of theatrical titans in bold revivals. Unfortunately, after financial troubles and poor critical reaction to a string of productions, the company filed for bankruptcy in 1997. The theater is now owned by Paul Libin, who was the managing director of Circle in the Square, and it continues to present interesting productions year after year. The intimate capacity of the Circle in the Square, currently 776 seats, makes it a novelty among Broadway theaters. With no audience member being further than 10 rows from the stage, and the ability to convert the thrust stage to a theater in the round configuration, shows have the advantage of engaging their audiences with unique staging opportunities. Perhaps the first show to utilize the stage in an unconventional way was Mary Zimmerman's Metamorphoses in 2002. The production featured a swimming pool that dominated the playing space with vignettes that took place in and around the water. The theater's longest running tenant, the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, transformed the space into a school gymnasium, including the entire lobby as well. A pool of water would return to the theater again in 2017, this time during the revival of Once on This Island. Dane Laffrey's Tony-nominated set transformed the theater into an exotic Caribbean island complete with sand, trees, rain, wind, and even some live goats and chickens. With the original 1972 goal to have the theatrical playing space dominate the subterranean theater as the focus when theater patrons first walked in, show after show has risen to the occasion, making for memorable theatrical outings at the Circle in the Square, one grain of sand or a droplet of water at a time. With all the different musical genres that have tread the boards of Broadway in the last 100 years, it's rare for something brand new to come along. But in 2016, the Circle in the Square presented a unique musical that did just that. Broadway's first a cappella musical. In Transit was comprised of characters whose lives interconnected while commuting on streets and subways. Interestingly, many mornings there were long lines at the box office, but curiously the show struggled financially. So what were they lining up for? The marketing campaign for In Transit featured posters outside of the theater that emphasized the MTA subway setting of the show by creating artwork that mimicked the different colored circles of the subway system. Tourists, confused by the posters and seeing a 1972 box office that looks like an MTA booth, compounded with seeing escalators descending into the earth, confused it for a subway station. They weren't looking for tickets to a Broadway show, they were looking for a Metro card. Sadly, the show was shut out at the Tony Awards and closed after only 5 months, making the show perhaps the first flop in Broadway history to have long lines at the box office.
Hello! Can you believe it? Saturday again. This is our 37th Saturday together in a row, which is longer than a lot of relationships I've had in my life. So my relationship, I guess, with all of you in this global pandemic, here we are. Welcome to Saturday Noon on Broadway as part of our Virtual Broadway Tour Series. Every week we're coming to you live with someone who has worked at the theater we're featuring that week. And this week we are joined by the incredible, the hilarious, the most talented person you've probably ever met in your life or seen on stage, Mary Testa from Oklahoma at the Circle in the Square Theater. For those that aren't familiar with me or Broadway Up Close, where have you been for 37 weeks? No, it's okay. It's all right if this is your first time. My name is Tim Dolan. I'm an actor and the owner of Broadway Up Close walking tours in New York City. For the last 11 years, our tours have unearthed secrets, history, fun facts, ghost stories, all the things you didn't know that you really want to know about our 41 Broadway theaters. I have an incredible team of actors and stage managers that are my green team that are your eyes and your windows into the world. We have 5 exterior tours that are currently available, masked, socially distanced. If you want a little staycation in your life in New York City, or you're a tourist who happens to find yourself in a barren Times Square, I'm there for you. I'm ready when you are. We have one interior tour, which currently is unavailable, but will open as soon as Broadway reopens, which is inside Broadway's oldest theater, which is the Hudson, 118 years of history and incredible stories. And then in the middle of Times Square, I built a year and a half ago, a gift shop. The 6-foot-tall Broadway sign of marquee letters and 150 light bulbs. So if you're looking for any Broadway merchandise, while that is closed currently, all of that's moved online. So all of our handmade, hand-designed merchandise for all of your Broadway lovers or your Broadway needs. For more info on any of that I just threw at you so quickly on this Saturday, BroadwayUpClose.com has everything you ever wanted to know. You shouldn't go there now. You should wait till we're done talking to Mary, and then you should go and give me all your money. March 12th, 2020 is the day where in the tour guide community, they call it Red Thursday. In the theater community, you just call it like the start of awfulness. It never occurred to me that New York City and Broadway wouldn't both be there. That to me, they're synonymous. As long as there's an island that's 13 miles wide in between 2 rivers, there's 41 theaters that are open and people are going to them at 8 p.m. But that apparently, come to find out, aren't two things that are completely synonymous and linked. And so as word comes on the horizon of maybe shows starting to reopen, maybe the end of this year, maybe 2022, who knows, we're going to bring a little bit of Broadway history for you virtually in the meantime. And so I thought, okay, we'll do it 41 weeks. There's 41 theaters, 1 theater a week. I'm insane, but it's crazy that we're coming up in the end. So 41 weeks in a row chronologically gets us to our 37th oldest theater in our crop of new theaters, which is the Circle in the Square, one of only 2 subterranean Broadway theaters. I hope you've enjoyed all the history and the fun facts and insanity of our daily videos this week. How's today going to work? For today's series, we'll learn all about Mary's theatrical journey, her time working on Oklahoma. If you have questions for her or me along the way, drop them in the comments and we'll feed those in live and have a nice little banter and conversation. And if you are joining live and you haven't already, drop where you're watching from in the chat so we can see where our stories are going today. Are you ready? And join me. Without further ado, join me in welcoming Broadway's Mary Testa.
Hey, hi, everybody.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Happy Saturday. Thanks for being part of our Saturday.
I'm delighted.
In this beautiful rainy Saturday. Are you still in New York City? Have you been in New York City through the entire insanity?
I've been in New York City the entire time, yeah.
Yeah. Has it been, I was gone for the first couple weeks of it all. Was it unlike anything you'd ever seen in New York City before, or you stayed in your apartment and you were like, I don't know if things happened outside?
You know, what was sort of interesting was the summer, Black Lives Matter.
Sure.
When George Floyd was killed, I am in the meatpacking district.
Sure.
There was pretty much every single storefront was vandalized. And that was a scary night. I remember hearing, my windows are on Washington Street, and
Yeah.
I remember hearing the gangs running up and down the street, just breaking windows. And so that was a very interesting night.
Yeah.
A couple of nights, actually. I'm never afraid. I've never been afraid, but that was an interesting thing. And what I love is that there's not a lot of people, and I love that. So
you're like hashtag silver linings of a gold.
Exactly. I just have to open a door for my dogs. Hang on one second.
No, live your life.
He wants to go out.
Mine's cleaning his paws next to him. So this is our
mine is he's always a very good boy when I tell him that I have to work, which is what this is. He's usually very quiet and a good boy.
I love that. What's his name?
His name?
Yeah.
Clyde.
Clyde. I love that. How old is Clyde?
He's 11.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
There, old man. My little guy's 4. He's Belasco. He's named after my favorite Broadway theater because I'm in niche market. Okay, so for those who don't know Mary Testa from the beginning, tell us where you grew up. Tell us when you first got involved or interested in theater, when that was a light bulb moment of maybe I can do this professionally. Get us like the mini bio of Mary Testa before New York City.
Okay. I grew up in Rhode Island. I was 16 when I decided I was trying to decide between being a lawyer or being an actor. I decided that I would go with acting because I would probably have to do less schooling. And I went to a very special school in between high school and college called the Governor's School for the Young and Gifted in the Arts. I was accepted. It was a 6-week program. I did that. I went to college. I majored in theater. I took all my theater courses. I took everything. By the time I finished my first semester junior year, I worked 3 jobs an entire summer, and I moved to New York in September of 1976.
Before you're done with school?
Yes, I quit. My parents were not happy, but they said, you have to get a degree. What if you want to teach? And I said, I don't want to teach. I just want to be an actor. So I moved to New York.
Incredible.
While I was in college, I was a sophomore. I met Bill Finn because Bill, we had a season of a 10 new show season, mostly new plays and musicals. And they hired Bill, was fresh out of Natick, Williams College, came and did a new show and picked me to be in it. So that's how I met Bill Finn.
And how old are you at this point? This is sophomore of college. So you're what? You're like 20?
Yeah, no, like 19.
19.
Yeah, because I moved to New York when I was 21. So,
and he's around. How old is he at this point? I'm trying to see.
He's probably, he had just graduated from Williams College. So
just a couple years, maybe.
Yeah, what is that? I don't even know.
Sure. 22, I guess. I went to a 2-year school, so I
don't remember. I don't remember how old he was. Young though.
Okay.
And so I met him there. And then when I moved to New York, I had worked, as I said, 3 jobs to save up enough money to move, so that I would have 6 months to just kind of get acclimated, because I had never lived, except for off campus in college, I had never lived out of Rhode Island.
Sure.
And
how do you have family members that are in the business at all? Are you flying blind? Nothing. You're just like,
flying blind. Yeah.
And moment of, I want to have 6 months of savings. That's you just being, that's the lawyer side of you who's more
That's
practical.
me just being, practical and smart.
I was going to say very smart.
Of course, 6 months of savings. I think it was maybe $1,000 or $1,500. That was 6 months of savings. Now that's not even a week of savings, but
correct. They're like, you could get an Airbnb for 2 days.
Yeah, this was in 1976, so things were different. You could take a cab from the West Village up to 50th Street, and it was $3 with a tip. So
Okay.
So this is different. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so you get here, and 6 months. In those 6 months, that you're just living, you're auditioning, you have some context, you know, Bill Finn,
I
but what
was
happened?
not auditioning. I started working with Bill Finn immediately.
Okay.
And we were just singing with him, me, Allison Frazier, and a woman named Kay Pesic. And that's how his first show in New York, In Trousers, came about. We were,
Wow.
and so that's what happened. And then, you know,
And
I had to do it.
The moment you meet Bill Finn, I'm trying to, obviously he's Bill Finn, right? To people who have seen his shows and haven't worked with him intimately, and so to us, it's like his music to me is so honest and so heartfelt and melodic. Does it feel like that in the moment? Do you feel like you're part of really something special, or it's just, you're all just putting stuff together and
we're just putting stuff together? I mean, we're all interested in the same sort of thing and the same kind of expression. And
sure,
you know, we obviously, I'll only speak for myself, but everybody feels this way, knew what a talent he was. And so to work with him and to sort of interpret his stuff was what we wanted to do. I came here to do the work I do. So, you know, but it took a while because I had a job because, you know, working with Bill wasn't paying anything. So I had jobs and then In Trousers happened, and that set us on a path.
Does it feel, I'm always curious in this idea of like what other people think making it is and what making it is for you as an artist in your own, you know, thing. Is this the first moment that feels like you're onto something and that there is something here and someone's going to give you money and this could be a career, or does that come later with your first Broadway show or something?
No, I mean, I moved to New York to do that. Clyde. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Clyde's like, don't give me a great high bar.
He's usually really good, but he's obviously heard something. I knew this is what I wanted to do. I've heard people who say, I gave myself 5 years. I gave myself 10 years. I had this plan. I never had a plan. I just said, this is what I want to do. And this is what I'm going to do. And so I just followed what was interesting to me and what, you know, made sense. There were times when I had to take theater jobs, because I had to pay the rent and I wasn't interested in the project, but I had to take those jobs. I learned that lesson early on, that you know, that big conundrum is art versus commerce. And sometimes it doesn't work out, but I just knew that this is what I wanted to do. And so I had to pay bills to do, you know, and do it.
And then, and right from the beginning, and looking at your career as an arc from 76, as you say, to 2021, it is interesting to see that you've been a part of some, like Wicked, you know, so commercial, so crazy, and then, you know, Queen of the Mist, which is downtown and is, you know, really maybe the polar opposite of Wicked. And so it's interesting to see the navigation of a career and a life, because so many people have to do shiny.
Yeah, I mean, my heart lays in the downtown artistic expression pieces, but there are times when you have to do the big commercial thing because that's what's in front of you and that's what's offered to you, and you need to pay your bills. And so I'm always very grateful when I have a real mixture of both. With, you know, heavier on the artistic side. And I'm very lucky that I have agents who, when I say I need to do this job that pays $300 a week and not do the job that pays $7,000 a week, go, okay, whatever you want to do. So, you know, that's, you know.
And were they always like, live your life, do that? Have they always done that?
Yeah. My agents are, you know, I have sort of middle ground agents. I've been with them for 45 years. Wow. They are lovely, and they understand that that's what my career, my artistic expression wants, and they never balk at that stuff. So
but then they're like, Metamorphoses and Wicked, you should go do that and do that.
Yeah, I mean, that was offered, and that was I didn't have any other things that were happening, and you know, that was please, I was number like 857 or something.
Correct. 58,
but I was very grateful for the gig. It paid extremely well, and it was a really interesting experience. And I did it for 10 months, and I was very grateful to do it. So, you know.
Okay, so then talk to me about the voice that is your voice? Was it always without a family tree that is artistic or musical? Where does this voice come from? Because to me, when you think Mary Testa, you think hilarious and a crazy, crazy instrument.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. There was a natural gift. My mother was a singer, not professionally, but she and I used to sing together all the time from when I was very small. She kind of taught me how to get harmonies, and it just was a natural gift, which I then, when I came here, then studied voice for about 6 years, 6 or 7 years. And to make sure that I knew what I was doing, I studied operatically, even though I had no interest in being an opera singer. My technique was operatic, so that I know how to protect myself and how to sing correctly. And also, as you get older, you cannot do the same things you do when you're young. So, you learn how to protect yourself, and, and so I've done all that. And I feel like I do so much singing that I'm good,
Right. Right.
I haven't done that much singing since the whole pandemic thing, but I'm good.
Yeah. But up until then, you're really smart. It sounds like you've really, I don't know why. Of course. I think anyone that has a career as wonderful as you and has been in it, for a minute. But it's really interesting to hear someone really approach it like, I'm not doing opera, but obviously I have to know how to do that. X, Y, and Z to do this. Is a lot of people wouldn't do that. I think.
Well,
a lot
I think
of people,
I think it's different, but opera training, technique-wise, is the only training to have vocally if you're a singer.
Right.
To establish a healthy way to produce sound.
Yeah.
A lot, what I notice now with the younger singers is that the sound is all the same.
Correct.
And it's all sort of forward forced, belty kind of, not everybody, but and people are writing that way too. I mean, listen, Stephen Schwartz wrote really high belting in Wicked. I mean, not for Madame Morrible, but for the witches, the green one. Yeah. I mean, the belting is crazy, and they don't want people to mix. So, you got to be young, and your voice can take that when you're young, but not when you get older. So you do have to be smart about how you use your instrument. You can't blow it out.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's, there's so much, I think nowadays that's just 8 shows a week, 10-month contract, get through that. And you're like, well, no, I know, but as soon as this 10 months contract's over, you want to do another contract of something else.
Of course. You want to have longevity. I mean, look at Tony Bennett. He's 90 something, and he still sings so great because he never, I think he always knew how to protect his voice. And there are other singers that blew their voices out with alcohol and smoking and, all that stuff. But
and for your voice specifically, because I feel like it is the polar opposite of that, like straight kind of brash is not the right word, but
I'm constantly being compared to Ethel Merman, which I hate.
Sure.
I hate it. Nothing against,
because it's loud and there's
vibrato. Because I have a big voice. Nothing against Ethel Merman. She's Ethel Merman, but I'm nothing like Ethel Merman, but that's what people. Merman,
there's no nuance. Where I think with you, it's all nuance. It is.
She was extraordinary in her time and her, But I hate that comparison because I don't feel like I'm anything like Ethel Merman, and I think just because I'm loud, I have a loud voice, that people make that comparison makes me crazy.
Sure. Let's debunk it right now.
Okay.
In this Saturday, we are global pandemic. You're like, there was less people, and they know.
Is anybody watching this?
Yeah, we have. They're all commenting. They're saying thank you. There's some questions about. There's some Oklahoma questions that we're going to.
Okay.
Okay, here's a question that came up let's go. Liz Linkowitz says, so many incredible intimate details. I was going to ask her if there was an influential woman who impacted her career, but seems like her mom was the first biggest.
I think my mom, was the first one. And also, I am the type of person, and this is just me. I don't have idols. I don't. I mean, I appreciate people's work tremendously, but there's nobody I idolize. So I can't say that I had like people who were mentors to me.
Sure.
But anybody I sort of came across in my progression,
Mhm.
everybody is a mentor in a way. Everybody
Sure.
teaches you something. So there
That-
wasn't one woman except for my mother who.
And do you feel like that, because of that, that makes you kind of singularly Mary Testa of your own? That's a bag of tricks of a little here, little there? Or no, it's just you're doing your thing and you're not even...
I'm just kind of doing my thing and what appeals to me and what my artistic expression is.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to be like anybody else because nobody is like anybody. Everybody is individual. So, you know.
Yeah. Okay, and then early career commercially Broadway debut is Barnum.
Barnum. I was actually working on Barnum was my first art versus commerce.
Okay.
I was working on March of the Falsettos, which
Sure.
was the second part of In Trousers. We were in workshop, and we were making $75 a week. And I had a friend who was a production assistant on Barnum, and they were auditioning for swings and understudies. And she called me. It was a Saturday, and she said, get up here, because they're auditioning for people. And I was like, I'm not interested in that.
Right.
I'm not interested in that. And she was like, get you out here. So I was like, all right. I went. It turns out it was a circus show. So there was a chorus of 6 women. You know, there was a big chorus, but there were 6 women. And there was one Black woman in the show who, Joyce Heth was the name of the character.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really do any of the circus skills. I could juggle, and that was it. But when it was time to sing, the Joyce Heth role was low, and I could sing it. I could sing low, and I remember, what's his name? Oh, just all of a sudden, the man who wrote the music, just genius.
Not Michael Stewart. Cy
No,
Coleman.
he wrote the book. Cy Coleman. Cy Coleman. My God, I couldn't remember his name. Was sitting in the audience with Joe Layton, and they were looking for swings, and I started to sing, and his head whipped around, and that's why I got the job. But it was not a job I wanted.
Right.
And I really wanted to be doing March of the Falsettos, but I realized that it was going to pay me $400 a week as opposed to $75 a week. This is 1980.
Yeah.
And I said, I have to do this. I was really pretty miserable and was constantly trying to get another job. But I ended up doing the entire run and knowing the show better than anybody. And I was one of the people who staged the first national tour because I knew it better than anybody.
Right.
And as soon as they announced the closing, I went to an audition and booked an off-Broadway show at the Village Gate called Life Is Not a Doris Day Movie. And I started rehearsals the day after Barnum closed.
Come on.
All through the run of Barnum, I couldn't get hired for anything. Nobody wanted to. Yeah, it was crazy.
Of course. You're like, oh, what I would give to get out of the St. James. And they're like,
because I left March of the Falsettos, Bill didn't speak to me for a year. He was so angry.
Come on.
Yeah, it was painful.
Oh, that's tough. You reconciled, thank God.
We're fine. I mean, I've known each other since 1973.
Yeah.
So yes, we're fine.
Wow. Yeah, that's okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then comes the next couple. Okay, so then Doris Day, I've never even heard of this show, but
I know. Well, the Village Gate is not even there anymore.
Right,
so.
I was like, it's gone.
Yeah.
So then the next couple Broadway shows specifically are what? Is
the Rink.
Okay.
The Rink, actually, Marilyn, an American Fable.
Sure.
Yes, ill-fated. And then I was Liza's standby in the Rink. I was not the original. It was Lenora Nemitz who was the original, but Lenora left, and then I auditioned and got it. So then,
which I didn't know until this morning. I looked up something and I was like, wait, what?
And I did go on because when Liza committed, and I had auditioned for the show originally, but Cheetah was already doing it. And then when Liza was interested, who cares about, you're going to get Liza. So Liza at that point, and this is public knowledge, I'm not talking out of court. Liza committed herself to the Betty Ford Center
Yeah.
in July. My first show, I think I was hired in like May.
Okay.
And my first show was the 4th of July. It was a Wednesday. It was a 2-show day. I finished out Liza's contract, which was 2 weeks. And then Stockard Channing came in. She was contracted to replace Liza.
Sure.
And she came in. The show ran maybe 2 or 3 more weeks and then closed. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. And was it in the moment? Is it like tonight? The performance usually played by Liza Minnelli will be played by Mary Testa. Is it? Oh,
yeah, tons. Oh yeah, every single show. Oh God. Oh God. But I always won them over.
Well, duh. Of course, you're like.
Thank you. It was a really good role for me. It was a great role for me. So, and it was a dream. It was great to work with Cheetah. She was amazing.
Wow. It wasn't until this morning I was like, what? I've never heard. I didn't know this. Incredible. Okay, I cut you off. You were going to say, and then.
No, and then, so that was 84.
Okay.
And then I was, and this again is stuff I've talked about. I was blacklisted for 12 years from casting a place called Johnson Lith.
Yeah, of course.
And
they did everything.
Yeah, they did all the Brit shows. That was the time of the Brit shows.
Yeah.
And they had seen me do a production of Company for Playwrights Horizons.
Yeah.
And to tell you the truth, and
who did you play in Company?
I was Marta.
Okay.
Another 100 people. Because I never intended to be in musical theater, I did not have a musical theater past. I never listened to musical theater. So Sondheim was not anybody on my radar.
Sure.
And I said, and I've talked about this in interviews before, so it's not a secret. Michael Starobin was the musical director. Michael and I are dear friends and have collaborated many times. And I said, this song is so boring. And with all these long held notes. So I riffed on all of them. And Playwrights Horizons, this was a theater. They used to have a theater in Queens at the old World's Fair. And that's where we did this company. And people came and they either really loved it or really hated it. And what was his name? Andy Zimmerman, who was a casting director at Johnson Lith, called my agent, called my agent and said, who does she think she is? We will never see her for a show. And they didn't for 12 years. So I missed all the Brit shows. And then after 12 years, they called my agent and said, you know what? I think we made a mistake about her, but it was 12 years so long. I did plenty of work in that 12 years. I was off Broadway. I did a lot of concert work. I didn't suffer.
Right.
But then I got Forum in 96. So I went from 84 to 96 without doing any Broadway shows because I was kind of blacklisted.
Crazy. And this business, you hear stuff like, you just like, oh,
you know what? It doesn't faze me. It didn't faze me. I was like, okay, I'll just work off Broadway. And, and it didn't really faze me. So honestly,
which is why you're who you are, which,
I don't know. It's just, me.
Sure. But I think anyone else really would have been like, well, that's it. And then left, and gone.
No, I mean, I found plenty of work to do, and I love off Broadway because you could be a lot more experimental off Broadway. It's where you can. I think great work is done off Broadway, so I was happy to be off Broadway.
And you can riff on Stephen Sondheim.
You can riff, yeah.
And you can riff. And then so then 12 years later, you're like, I'm going to come back to Broadway in a Stephen Sondheim show.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I'm sure he loathes me, but I don't really care. Honestly, I don't.
Well, sure, but
why would I?
Yeah, sure. Forum was you're back at the St. James, right?
Yeah.
Where it all started.
Which I love the St. James. I love the crew there. I love everybody there.
Yeah, it's the audience is huge, but it feels kind of intimate and iconic.
It's a great theater.
And then Forum, does it feel? Are you glad to be back after 12 years of being blacklisted? Does it feel like a return, or you're just like, nah, it's another show?
It was another show. It was a really interesting experience.
Sure.
It was a very successful show. I met Larry Gelbart, who I adored. He was so great, and it was fun and great, and the audience loved it. It was Nathan and
Yeah.
Mark Mark. Oh my God.
Lynn Baker.
Thank you. I can't think of anybody's names today. And
Okay.
Ernie Sabella. They were a real like
Yeah.
boys club, and yeah, it was fun.
That's incredible. And then, okay, so then from there we go. Where do we go from there?
Broadway.
Yeah, Broadway.
I believe the next one after that was Marie Christine.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so then yes, so the perfect segue of life, because I want to talk about Queen of the Mist because it changed my life. Okay, so this is the first time you work with Michael John on Marie Christine, or you had worked with him downtown because
you know what? I don't remember. I think it might have been the first show I did with him. I can't remember. I know I had met him.
Okay.
He probably played piano for something that I auditioned for or something.
Sure.
I just think, he is a genius, and I love doing his stuff. So Marie Christine, because it was all the elements that I loved. Graziella was directing, and it was just
it's the middle. To me, it feels like the middle of your life. It feels like the commercial and the artistic.
Yes, it's total blend. In the middle,
which is rare.
Yeah.
It's rare to find that, it feels like.
Yeah.
And it didn't run very long.
It's unfortunate because I thought it was an extraordinary piece. And we were in tech rehearsals. When they came to us and said, we are moving contact up to we were in the Beaumont. We are moving contact up here. And we were like, we haven't even started. We were in technical rehearsal. So obviously they weren't behind it.
Right.
And it was hugely disappointing.
Yeah.
But, Contact was a big hit, I guess. And they felt they needed to. Yeah.
And won Best Book. Here we are. Okay, my question for you on I want to talk about Queen of the Mist, but Michael John, Bill Finn, it seems like you have these writers in your life that seem to write for you or for your instrument or for you where you live. So Tom, who's watching, says, where does A New Brain fit in? Was that part written specifically for you? So
no, it was not written specifically for me. As a matter of fact, they did a bunch of workshops I was not involved in, but when they went to Lincoln Center, and again, it was Graziella who was choreographing, and it was James Lapine who was directing. And I had known James Lapine because I did a workshop of falsetto land or falsettos. And actually, Bill, the other night we did a Seth Rudetsky thing because it's Bill's birthday. And Bill had written the part of the lesbians for me and Allison Frazier, and we both said no. So, so that's how I met Lapine, was doing the workshop. I did a workshop, and then I was like, no, I'm not. It's not a big enough role. And I told Bill that the other night. It wasn't a big enough role. Sorry.
And then again, he was like, in another year, I'm not talking to you.
It doesn't matter because, we're old, and it is that I always speak my truth, whether do people like it or not. But anyway, wait, I got lost. What was I saying?
We were the train of thought was New Brain. You didn't do it originally.
So I was asked to do it Lincoln Center, and I had a great time, and I think it's a great piece.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay, then Queen of the Mist. So Queen of the Mist to me it feels like you've had a career where you're not the final bow, you're the character woman
is
right. And then to see you, one singing, there is that opening song, killing it with the suitcase, and it's so good. And then by the end of the show, doing things that I had never really seen you do before. I think the first time I saw you was 42nd Street at the Ford Center into, See What I Want to See, where it's weird and in this middle land. And then this. And so does it feel like a different experience? This is your first final bow. Tell me everything.
It was extraordinary. First of all, we were up at Williamstown doing See What I Want to See when Jack Cummings had the idea, read the book of poetry that was based on Queen of the Mist, talking about, and gave the book to me and Michael John and said, I think this would be great for you, and Michael John, you would write this. And I read the book, and cried basically for 4 days. And so that's where the idea started. And it was extraordinary, because also the thing about Michael John is when he writes for you, he writes the absolute bottomest part of your voice and the top part of he's unrelenting in that it is always challenging. And it was extraordinary. We did a few workshops of it. It was my heart and soul. I can't ever think about it without starting to cry. And it was a magnificent experience. I was exhausted when I finished.
Sure.
I did 50 of those performances, and it was extraordinary. We loved that show. I remember I don't read reviews, but there was a thing that came out in New York Magazine where they said, I'm sure they think that this is revolutionary. This will always be a cult show. And then they went on to say something nice. But I just thought it was an amazing show. And the 78 people who saw it.
Well, correct. Loved it. Well, transport group. We had Barbara Walsh on, and I love Jack, and I will never say enough good things about them. And
no, they're just. I love to work for them, and I love, the only bad thing about it is you don't really make that much money, but
of course,
but it is what it is, and they're just artistically just superlative. So
crazy. Okay, so then get us to. So things happen. You're very talented. Shows happen. You're very good. It's very funny.
Okay, blah blah.
Tony nominations. Things happen. Great. 37 more Broadway shows, and then Oklahoma happens. You're involved with it from the very beginning of this very I almost said strange. This very different production.
Yeah. I had. We closed over a year ago, so I was involved with it from the last year, January 19th, when we closed. I was involved with it for 5 years.
Oh my God.
Daniel Fish called me. I'd done a reading with Daniel. I didn't remember of very new workings of a Polly Penn show. And we did a reading, and then Daniel called me, and it's a really funny story because I was doing a reading of something with Sally Struthers, and Sally and I she had missed some show that I had taped. And so I said, oh, come over, I'll make you dinner and you can watch the show. So she was in my house when Daniel called, and I went into the bedroom to talk to him. And I said, I can't really talk to you at length right now. Sally Struthers is here and I'm making her dinner. And he talked for a few minutes, and then he went, Sally Struthers is in your living room. It was pretty funny. So he said, I'm working on this Oklahoma. I would love you to play Ann Eller. We started at New York Theater Workshops, just sitting around a table 5 years back. So it's 6 years ago. We did a workshop for like 2 weeks, just looking at the script, just focusing on the script and trying to figure out because he wasn't going to use all the characters. He was going to cut some things down. Right. And so we started there, and then we went up to Bard and did a production of it that was very successful, sold out a run. And then it took 4 years from Bard till we went to St. Anne's Warehouse. Yeah. And then we did a run at St. Anne's Warehouse, closed in November. And then in February, we started November. So February, we started rehearsing for Broadway. Crazy. And then ran a little over a year. Sure. On Broadway.
And then because Circle in the Square is such an interesting configuration of a theater uptown on Broadway, was it very similar at St. Anne's and Bard, staging wise? Was it
well, he had to work. Each place was a little different. Bard was a rectangle with only 2 rows of audience members in a much longer room with shorter ceilings. And so each St. Anne's was a 2-sided room, kind of like Queen of the Mist, only more people, like about 300 people. Sure. And then today I can't think. Circle and Square, thank you, was a horseshoe. So each theater had to, it had to be a little bit configured differently staging wise. But
from the beginning, the chili and all of those elements.
All that was in place.
Always,
yes.
Yeah. Always. Yeah. Crazy. And did you It feels like you do. I'm thinking 42nd Street. It feels like you live in a world where you do traditional musicals or revivals of musicals is part of your life here and there. Maybe not. Now that I think about it, maybe there's a lot of.
I've done a fair share of revival-ish, but I also have done a lot of new, and this felt new to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wondered where this lived, and it had to have felt so new.
Well, it was very grounded and very reality-based, and no accents, and no, Daniel has got an incredible brain, and I love working with him as well, and would work on him with anything. And I love controversial things, because there were people who loved Oklahoma and there were people who hated Oklahoma. And so, that to me is really interesting. Yeah.
It's, we, as tour guides, I meet all of the people going to see all of the shows.
Sure.
And so I get this kind of on the ground, very real, like tri-state area, and then people from Iowa. And so I get like a very real, what did you think about it? And it was a show that there was no middle ground whatsoever.
Nope, none. No, black and white.
I hated every single thing about it, or it changed my life. I will never be the same.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I have a very dear friend who's a very successful author who has a Facebook Live show where she talks to authors, and Michael Riedel was on her show one night.
Sure.
And I don't think Michael saw Oklahoma. I will say this, and I hope he's watching. And he said, you don't do that. You don't do stuff like that to Oklahoma. You just don't. You don't make Judd a hero. You just don't. And I thought, what a stupid thing to say, because that's what makes Shakespeare great, is that you can interpret it different ways. And that's what makes Oklahoma great, because that script is great. That's what makes it great. There are gray areas. It's not black and white. I heard that Hugh, what's his name? Hugh, the guy who's going to do Music Man.
Oh, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, had absolutely no interest in seeing it, because he had done it, the conventional way. And you know what?
And that's it. It's conventional. I just think it's art. What are we doing?
I'm not interested in doing a conventional. I mean, you have to sometimes. Forum was conventional. 42nd Street was conventional. And sometimes you have to, but my interest is really finding the different way to interpret the classic. And so I was thrilled with the work in Oklahoma, and thrilled with the reaction. Yeah. Good and bad.
And there's nothing, in our world, there shouldn't be anything in the Broadway world that's so precious.
Exactly.
Like, why is also, it's like them coming to see you in company and riffing. You're like, well, why? What's so offended? Why are you so offended? You didn't write it.
Well, people like, they want, and that's valid. It's not where I live, but you want to see Oklahoma kind of the way you always saw Oklahoma, and I have no interest in that, but that's cool.
Yeah, we saw it.
If that's what you want to see, then there's plenty of Oklahomas you can see till you're dead that will do Oklahoma the way it's been done. And great, but not for me.
Right. Derby Dinner Playhouse, Oklahoma. It's going to be great. Jacob Persilli, he says, any stories of cornbread gone wrong?
Well, I made cornbread on stage, but they did not eat the cornbread I made. There was a catering that made cornbread. My cornbread was made with probably, fake flour. They filled the boxes with stuff that looked like cornbread. The eggs were real. The milk was paint and water, so because it's expensive to, so no, you wouldn't want to eat the cornbread I made, but the cornbread was delicious. I never tried the chili because I'm not a chili person, but the cornbread was delicious. That was catering.
It's they're like, let's try not to poison the entire cast.
No. Plus, it's so I didn't have a hairnet on and no gloves, and I'm making cornbread.
And in a global pandemic, you're exactly. You wouldn't pre-pandemic. No. You're like, well, why wouldn't they? Correct. Okay, here Alex says, can you please tell us your thoughts about being on the Circle and the Square stage? Talk to me about, because you've done so many different shows in so many different spaces, like Queen of the Mist, where it's a football field, or Circle and the Square, where horseshoe, or proscenium, do you have one that you love over the other? Did you like Circle in the Squares configuration? Tell me everything.
I love, it's so interesting to have the audience be 3/4 and around you and close to you. It's wonderful when an audience is in it and wrapped, but when they're not paying attention, or when they're eating or talking or looking at their phones, it's the worst in the world, to try and keep focus and to try and stay focused. So it was a kind of a mixed bag experience, but when an audience was, and I've actually said this sentence many times, when the audience was wrapped and in it and focused, there was nothing like it, because they were so close. They were just so close. Yeah. Now, we weren't looking at the audience. We were not using the audience except for energy.
Yeah, you feel it.
Yeah, but of course it was extraordinary. So I like it all. I like proscenium. I like when they're close. I like the experience of all of that.
Incredible. Okay, one final thing I want to talk about. Ratatouille.
Oh yeah.
Tell me everything. My friend Greg Noble, I was just on the phone with him, and I said to him,
he's the producer, right? He's the producer.
Yeah, lead producer. He's the one who was, I saw this on TikTok, and I just decided I was going to make this happen. And
I got a call on a Friday, Friday before Christmas week. And it was I always know her as Sharky, but she's the casting person, but she's got a different name. And because I can't think of any names today, even though I know her, she cast the music. She cast New York Theater Workshop. I can't think, is terrible, but I know her. I just can't think of names.
Sure.
She called and said, would you be interested in doing this? And she explained it to me. And I was like, well, okay, I don't really, because I love TikTok and I watch TikTok all the time, but I had never seen any of the Ratatouille stuff. I had never seen it. And I don't have an account. I just watch all the videos.
Alerter.
I love TikTok. So I was like, well, that's interesting. And so I'm kind of keep this short because I see we're at 12:46. So she was like, okay, so I'm going to send you, this is the song. I'm going to send you a little bit of the sides, and then it's due on Monday. So I was like, what do you do? And so then it turns out, no, it's not due on Monday. It's due on the 26th. Oh, okay. So then on Monday, I said yes, because I thought, oh, this will be interesting. Sure. And then I looked at Skinner just to see what he looked like. And then on Monday, I had an hour meeting with the director, Lucy, who is the director of Six.
Yep.
And then on Tuesday, I had a meeting with the music department. We went over the song. And then on Wednesday, they sent a shot list out, so what they needed. So you had to film everything yourself. And then I had 12 shots that I had to do. And I had to sometimes do dialogue to stuff that was already recorded. And so then on Wednesday, I farmed my dog out to my friends, and I shot everything. And then I uploaded it. It went to somebody in Germany, and then they put it all together. And then I think it was January 1st or something they showed it, and I watched it for the first time with everyone else. And I was like, oh my God, this is so sweet. And it raised $2 million for the Actors Fund.
Incredible.
Yeah.
If that isn't theater in a global pandemic, that probably is described, I don't know what is.
I know. It was great, actually. Incredible. It was really fun. Yeah.
Incredible. You are so smart. What a, congratulations on everything that you've done so far, and how you've gotten this far. And of course, it'll be so interesting to see how everything shakes down on the other side and where you land on the other side.
I know, for all of us, right? I mean, who the hell knows how long this will take, and Correct. Who knows how long. I'm grateful that for me that this is happening when I'm this age, when I have pensions. But, I don't know how younger guys do it. Obviously, you have other businesses that you're doing. And so
we're used to the hustle. So
I read something. Can I just say one more thing? I read something on Facebook. Somebody had put, I'm totally paraphrasing, but they were like, there's nothing like an actor, because they have been hung out to dry in this pandemic, and they've had to buy thousands of dollars worth of equipment to film themselves. And yet they do it, and they find other things to do, and they do it happily, and they're creative, and they find their ways through, and there's nobody like actors. And I totally agree. Totally agree. Totally.
Yeah, it feels like, well, it's just another challenge.
Exactly.
I was like, Broadway and commercial theater and pursuing the life is one of the hardest cities to live in, both economically and just the city. When it's good, and when it's bad, it's the city wants to just beat you up. It feels like in order to do this, you've really got to, like, I hate that saying of, if you can't do anything else. I hate that, but
no, but that's true.
But it is.
It's absolutely true.
You gotta be all in.
But there's nothing like an artist. There's nothing like all of us. We are extraordinary human beings who I think are closer to the heartbeat of what life is than most people, because we have to be. And so I'm proud that I do what I do, and proud that everybody here who's listening probably does it as well. And it's, I wish us all the best and all luck.
True that. I love that. How, if we want to follow you in life on social media, is Instagram, is that the best way?
Instagram, yeah, I guess, because marytesta.actress. I mean, I have somebody who helps me with Instagram, because I wouldn't do it if I didn't have my friend Gabe Crawford does my Instagram for me, and
it's really good.
He's great with
great.
my approval. He sends me all the stuff. Okay, change this line. Yeah, but that's and otherwise I don't know from that stuff. I'm really bad.
No, it's really good. Yeah, really great photos of old shows, and
well, that's all it is. It's all of memory lane right now.
Sure. The best thing, before we go, that so our mutual friend Teresa Flanagan, who has my heart, she would.
I hope she's watching.
She is. She said, "Oh, I'm going to watch." She said,
we'll see,
or something, or exactly, it'll be recorded. She'll watch it at some point." But she said you were in rehearsal for something. This is, every time I hear your name, I think, "Oh gosh, I wish I was in the room that day." It was maybe it was Queen of the Mist or something, and it was Bring It On, the musical was happening at the same time or something. And you said, "I don't want to see Bring It On. I want to see Bring It Up." And it's just people sitting in a room bringing up old stories of, like,
I don't remember that at all, but okay. Yeah.
I just think so today this was my little version of Bring It Up.
Bring it up.
Bring that up. Liza Minnelli, bring that up. And so thank you for bringing your own.
Oh my God. Thank you for asking. This was delightful. I love talking about stuff. So, you know.
You're incredible. Thank you so much. Happy Saturday. Good luck with the rest of this. And
thank you so much, Tim.
Find you in whatever show you're in on the other side.
Thank you. Same. Right back at you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
For years, if you don't know Teresa Flanagan, she's one of my closest friends. She's one of the original Broadway Up Close people. She's the most incredible stage manager you'll ever meet in your entire life. And I say that I've never believed anything more in my life than that statement. And for years, she said, being in a rehearsal room with Mary Testa, she said it's the best because there's great stories and she's done everything. And so to have a little portion of Bring It Up the musical today makes me very happy, and I love it. I hope you enjoyed it. I thank you, as always, for spending a little piece of your Saturday with us, navigating the human experience, and specifically the human artist experience, through the insanity, both the pre-COVID times and the challenge that is presented to us now. So I hope you're enjoying it. I can't believe we're coming into the home stretch. This weekend, I finish editing for the rest of the series, and then it's just a rollout over the next month. I have a whole bunch of new stuff, Broadway Up Close stuff, coming out in our lives, both structurally on the back end that you're like, what does that even mean? More to be revealed soon, new merchandise. We're hustling, and we're going to just make this work, and we're going to cut through. And there's this little pin of light at the end of the tunnel that is maybe reopening. A marquee just went up on the John Golden, and so there's little tiny signs, and it feels like that moment. It's so stupid, but I feel like when, the spring flowers start to rise up, and it's just one through the snow, one little flower who's like, let's do this. And that's lately what it has felt like. And I think if we've made it this far, I think it's only just gonna continue to get better. And so with that said, we'll finish up our last couple of weeks. Virtual tours. I don't have any new merchandise for you today, but As always, BroadwayUpClose.com/souvenirs if you're looking for merchandise. If you're not on Instagram, you got to follow us at Broadway Up Close. Every week, all of our videos plus our Saturday Noon on Broadway goes up on our YouTube. So hit subscribe on our YouTube page and you'll get all the updates on all of that, which, you know, we have lots of stuff going on. So lots of stuff to fill your social media life as you scroll your way through the day. And then virtual tours. This week we launched, after months and months of research, our Broadway Bar Crawl tour, which I'd always wanted to do, but location-wise, it just didn't make any sense. And so I had done a little bit of research in the past 11 years, but I really sat down over the last couple months and really dug in deep about the humans who have built these restaurants, most of them named for themselves, whether it's Keen's or Sardi's or Joe Allen. And the stories, again, of the humans who created businesses that are like my business, Broadway adjacent is what I call us, that you're tied to an industry, but you are also your own entity. And so it was fun digging up the crazy stories and all of that. We have one more Broadway Bar Crawl that we're doing tomorrow at 3 p.m. virtually. So if you haven't gotten your tickets for that, go to our website, BroadwayUpClose.com/virtual tours, or you'll see it right there on our homepage. So I hope you can join us for that because it's been a lot of fun in the couple that we've done this week. And then, like I say, our matinee for our international audiences tomorrow. So I hope you can join. As always, we are officially one day closer to Broadway. I love you all. I love that you spend this time and we get this little hour together on Saturday to just talk theater, talk with some interesting humans about their career and their successes and their journey. And then hopefully it puts us on our journey to the end of the tunnel, I hope. I love you all. One day closer, and I'll see you again on Monday for week 38. Crazy. Bye.